Good morning. My name is Ganesh, and I'm very happy to be giving the keynote for this session. I hope everybody is safe and most of you are getting back to work, I presume, as we are all. One thing this pandemic has done, according to everything we have heard, is how fast it has moved the digitization agenda. It is jokingly said what CXOs and CTOs and CDOs couldn't achieve, COVID was able to do it. But if you look at what has happened, there was a very interesting thought shared by one of our customer advisory board member. At Airtel Business, we have a customer advisory board, which is filled by CXOs from our customers and some industry leaders. And one of them recently commented that while we say that digitization has happened, what has been really digitized is pizza delivery. While we all know where is our pizza and where is your lunch and dinner every minute, every second, as a country, we didn't even know where our oxygen cylinders were. When will these reach the right place? Where is how many oxygen cylinders? So it's a very interesting and thought-provoking question when I talk about digitization. Because as you could really see, what we have digitized is the front end. What we have digitized is ordering pizza online, ordering food online, trading stocks has been digitized. Some places, classroom training has been digitized. But beyond that, if you look at post-ordering, the service digitization is still at a very early stage. And anything which relates to manufacturing, warehouses, logistics, we are at a very early stage of digitization. I mean, it's telling that we know where our shoe is going to be, which we ordered on one of these e-business sites, or our pizza is going to be, but we really don't know when the critical components of our economy, where it is and how much it is. And this is a problem which needs some thinking. And I hope that this session will provoke this thought. So if you take that problem, right, how do we know where these cylinders are? It needs a few ingredients. One, we need real-time information on where the demand is. So something about oxygen capacity in big hospitals, when it's going to run out, how much do they have? That is important information to have. Second is, where is the supply? Which factories are creating how much supply? Where is the oxygen cylinder? And then matching these two, we need to figure out what is the shortest path to get that oxygen cylinder to the place you need, and then track it along the way. So the whole logistics needs to be tracked. And the first ingredient of this problem, and this is not an unsolvable problem, it's just that we haven't solved it the same way we have solved the front-end digitization. So the first enabler is an ubiquitous connectivity. You need to make sure that the factories are connected, the hospitals are connected, and these devices are constantly sending information without human intervention. So you need connectivity to begin with. Then all that connectivity generates a lot of data. And this data needs to be stored and analyzed in some place. And that's a lot of capital expenditure, right? People need cloud computing, we need storage, we need analytics on top of it. And then once that analytics is done, we need communication to go back to the hospital saying this is when the truck is arriving, or to the manufacturing saying, please increase your production because there is demand. All this communication needs to go out as well. And all of this needs infrastructure. It needs equipment. But what we really want to make sure is that this doesn't become the roadblock for this innovation to happen. So today you can see this movement of everything is consumed as a service. It starts with computing, hardware, and storage consumed as a service. But if you go to the next levels of it, the network is still not consumed as a service. It is still a fixed bandwidth. And there are quite a few elements of this, which is still a big capital investment. So how do we make sure that the whole value chain is consumed as a service? And the third most important thing is the security. There is quite a bit of information sent back and forth. We need to make sure that nobody is tampering with it. Nobody uses it for undue gains, and this is protected, and the data privacy is also protected all the time. So if you look at the problem of digitizing the backend, digitizing the manufacturing digitizing the warehouse. We at Airtel believe that these are the three critical ingredients of this journey. And we are trying to figure out what would it take to do all of this. And if you look at the first problem, it is machines talking to each other. Today, there are close to 14 million devices in this country when it comes to what we call M2M connections. And we are number one, we have 45% of it. Whether it is POS machines, whether it is trucks, whether it is electric meters, all of this is possible because we not only have the coverage across the country, both in 2G and 4G, but we also have the platform to collect this information and process it effectively. And I think as we move forward, this is one area where it's going to be an important investment area for us. We really want to make sure that the ability to collect data from machines becomes very, very efficient, cost effective, and it could be all over the country. You just can't have connectivity in cities alone because these manufacturing facilities and warehouses are outside the country. You can see this will also be go through a major change when 5G comes in. We know 5G is about 18 months, 12 months to 18 months away. But just to give you the idea of what could 5G do, I was talking to the chairman of one of the biggest electricity distributor in the capital. And what he was saying is that if there is a transformer in a village and that transformer has a spark or some heating, we need to know that. We need to shut down that transformer. All of that has to happen with less than 100 milliseconds. Otherwise, this could be a catastrophic accident and the whole city can shut down or the whole state can shut down. Now, to make this happen with that level of latency, this electricity board alone has laid 250 kilometers of fiber. 250 kilometers of fiber, because fiber today is the only medium that can give them that kind of latency. And the fiber has enough challenges. It can be cut, you go through various constructions. So this is a pretty big problem. And 5G can solve it. Once we have 5G, the ability to collect this information from the transformer into a central processing data center, identify if there is a fire, create that signal to shut down that transformer, can happen in less than 100 milliseconds. That's the power of 5G. But unfortunately, I would not say unfortunately, but hopefully it's 12 to 18 months out and we should be able to get it. But you could see that the first problem we need to solve, and I hope the ecosystem comes together, it's a power of the startups in this country, which not only putting all the money, raising money on digitizing the front end and e-commerce, but they will hopefully solve the problem of digitizing the back end and this connectivity issue we have. And we definitely, at Airtel, we have this as the number one priority. The second thing you will see is that this data is coming into these data centers and cloud locations, hyperscalers. But we still are consuming the network as a fixed service. It is like a fiber being laid, 2 GB, 1 GB, 100 GB, and you have to buy this in fixed capacity. And we are imagining a future where the bandwidth can be consumed as you need it, when you need it, and where you need it. The same way you are consuming cloud computing today, the same way we are consuming storage, same way we are consuming computing. It might be a little bit more expensive on a per unit basis, but you will only consume what you need, very similar to what is happening in the cloud. We really are, this is a big change for a telecom, right? It changes not only the way our network is architected, but also all the way back to the billing systems have to change. And our internal organizational KPIs have to change, right? And it's a big change for us, and it's a big investment for us. And we are doing that. We are actually bringing this to market. We are doing this innovations right now. So customers will have a self-service portal to order bandwidth when they need it. They can do this between data centers, cloud providers, increase or decrease it depending on the time of the day. And then we will make sure that it is depending on the business needs, right? It might be a particular time of the year where you need more bandwidth than less bandwidth, and you can consume it as you go. It will also make sure that you're consuming it in the place where you need it. Maybe there is one particular city or data center where you need bandwidth more often than in another place. So you don't have to put this fixed fiber in place. And I think this is the next bit of innovation we need as we think about how to digitize the backend, because this much amount of data which is generated by these millions of devices, whether it is warehouses, trucks, manufacturing plants, have to be brought into these data centers, hopefully edge data centers as well, which are closer to these manufacturing locations, and has to be processed. And another area I would highlight is all of this could be done through video analytics. How much production capacity you have can be quickly scanned by a drone, and those images can tell you how many cylinders are there in a warehouse. And that processing can happen at the edge. It doesn't have to happen at a centralized data center. And that will also need this connectivity. The main ingredient of this is the network. Today, if you look at it, a lot of this network is still physical. It's not software defined. SD-WAN or Airtel Intelligent VPN is the most important ingredient of consuming bandwidth as demand, because it virtualizes the network the same way the hardware gets virtualized. And SD-WAN or Airtel Intelligent VPN is a very, very important investment for us. Our data tells us that at least 70% of our customers are either already investing in SD-WAN or planning to invest in SD-WAN in a year. This Airtel Intelligent VPN, we have now done it for various different verticals. We have done it for a leading food and beverage chain, an Indian bank, electronics manufacturing company. What it allows us to do is to optimize the network, make sure it's manageable, and you can prioritize applications so that whatever is super critical gets transported fast. For example, a safety-related application transmitting data can get priority over people browsing for financial applications on the backend, right? So, a billing application can wait, whereas the safety application should get priority. That can be managed on SD-WAN. I think this is an important area as we think about how do we digitize the backend. All this means that you need data centers. You need data centers closer to these facilities because the latency will become an important point. And we have today 10 core data centers and about 120 edge data centers. And each of these data centers have been connected to the network we have across the country. We have about 400 gigs of connectivity happening from these edge data centers. So it is not only good for gaming and watching videos with low latency, it is also important for us to get the safety-related data, machine data coming into these edge data centers, videos related to safety, so it can be processed efficiently with less latency. We will have about 32,000 racks and about 100 megawatts of power. About 50%, more than 50% of this will be green energy. And our customers today, biggest hyperscalers, global cloud players, MNC banks, and even domestic banks are moving into this. So both this and this connectivity consumed as a service is going to be an important ingredient for how do we digitize this backend. All of this should happen in a secure way. Today in Airtel, we secure our network using our SOC. We call it Airtel SOC, which actually makes sure that the whole network is safe and secure, is fully automated. We have very less people. And we intervene thousands and thousands of incidents to make sure that the network runs without any attacks from outside. And this is an important service. Most of the manufacturing companies are moving to this cloud-based SOC model, which we are very, very, very proud of. And we are investing in this, with our partners as well. Whether it is Radware, Cisco, VMware, and Forcepoint, we bring the best of the secure technologies to make sure this ubiquitous connectivity and digitization of factories and warehouses can happen without worrying about where is the data getting leaked. So as you could see, the important thing for us is to make sure that as we get into the next generation of digitization, we're just not only thinking about the front end, but it's also talking about the back end. And the important ingredients of this is what Airtel is heavily investing on. You will continue to see us invest in connectivity, whether it's 2G, 4G, 5G, corporate data, broadband. We as a company has maintained the full portfolio of connectivity customers are going to need, and we have coverage across the country. And it will all happen in a secure way. Its security is the number one priority for all of us here. The second thing is, you will see from the bottom up, we are building all these building blocks. IoT and the ability to make sure that machines can talk to each other. Once the data comes in, making sure that the bandwidth can be consumed as a service, and it becomes easier and more efficient. And once the data comes in, you need edge data centers to make sure that it can be analyzed, whether it is for safety incidents, whether it is for matching demand and supply. All of that can happen in our 120 edge data centers. And we also offering these edge data centers as well as connectivity to cloud, whether it is a public cloud, private cloud, or edge cloud. We are putting together a comprehensive portfolio of cloud offerings. And then once this data comes together and you have analyzed, you still need to communicate to people who have to take action. And if you remember the fire incident I talked to you about, a message has to go out, a call has to go out to the service technician to make sure that he shows up there. Right? Whether if it is a safety incident, you need somebody to be notified right away. Maybe an ambulance needs to be notified right away. So we have built this cloud communication platform called Airtel IQ, which can integrate with IoT and make sure that these incidents are monitored and acted upon by this communication. Right? So imagine a machine breaks down in a factory. Rather than waiting for a supervisor to show up, this IoT can send that data, and the data is analyzed, matched with who needs to be attending that machine, and that person can be woken up. And in possible, they can take over the machine as a video call and guide the local technician to solve that problem. And this will become much, much easier in the 5G world, where a local technician can just start putting a glass on, and the remote expert can see what is going on in that machine without even showing up at the factory. So imagine the amount of time we could save. And all of this, again, as I mentioned, has happened in the secure way. So I think that's what we are learning, and that's what we are building. I hope this session and the Mobile Congress, and you will hear from my colleagues that how Airtel is addressing this issue. It is just not about digitizing the front end, knowing how to order a pizza or a shoe, and how to make sure that it shows up on time, and knowing every minute where it is, but also making sure that the critical elements of our economy, which is the back end, which is the manufacturing, the warehouses, the oxygen cylinders you need, the food grains you're going to distribute, and supplies you're going to make sure that manufacturing facilities are running efficiently, is going to be an important next step in our digital journey. And that is where Airtel is planning to invest. We have a customer advisory board we are constantly learning from, and we hope to hear from all of you as well, whether is there any areas we could help you. Thank you.